Right, so, as expected, the Supreme Court ruled Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman's Rwanda deportation scheme unlawful. This should have been the end of the story. That's it. We should all be cheering. Hooray! That's the end of that. Victory for the asylum seekers and those supporting them not being kicked around like political footballs. Unfortunately, this £140 million fascist waste of time and money is going to tick on, despite the sacking of Braverman. Our mandateless and completely unelected Prime Minister once more seemingly set on doing whatever he damn well pleases, now threatening to change the law so as to make Rwanda a safe country when it isn't. If you legislate that it is, it still won't be. You're just abusing the law and your position to make a really rubbish law, a lie, frankly, into a legality. It's only be legal here, though, and human rights laws are international. So how far is Sunak willing to take this idiocy? Because he can't stand the thought of being beaten and put in his place by the same laws of the land the rest of us have to abide by. Because his speech following the ruling was utterly unhinged. Right, so Rishi Sunak had a bit of a paddy in front of the cameras yesterday as the Supreme Court dumped his government's Rwanda plans once and for all, or at least that's how it seemed at the time. Surely there's nowhere for him to go from here with it. Sadly not the case, it would appear, though going anywhere sensible with it is a completely different matter. Of course, it was definitely the dumping of the legacy of Priti Patel and Suella Braverman after her, both involved in this fascist, unworkable, overly expensive stunt designed to appease to a far-right fringe who have become increasingly and worryingly dominant in our political discourse. Would Braverman have survived as Home Secretary after this ruling? She'd staked her career on it pretty much. She was dreaming about those deportations, and now her vision of planes taking off a runway over and over again, no doubt her version of counting sheep to go to sleep, have crashed and burned on the runway. We'll never know if she would have actually resigned, of course, but the result wasn't unexpected, so perhaps Sunak figured sacking her a couple of days early would show some strength on his part. If that was his thinking, he clearly didn't expect a letter from her following her departure, which flayed him 6 ways from Sunday. There have been resignation letters, and then there was this. If you haven't read it, Sunak got burnt so bad he won't sit down for a week. But equally, it's just as funny for how Braverman clearly thought she was untouchable. Less funny, though, is what Sunak is planning from here onwards, though, because he's not quitting on these deportations, and he can't really afford to politically when, having got rid of Braverman, finally having no choice after her attacks on the police, he still needs her faction backing him. And if he can't afford to have her in cabinet any longer, then he's going to have to continue with the policies they favour instead. Despite saying he respected the Supreme Court's decision, he blatantly doesn't, as he seeks to circumvent it. Despite the Supreme Court ruling Rwanda is unsafe, Sunak says it is. His respect for the Supreme Court ignores their findings that Rwanda has a poor human rights record, where refugees have been gunned down in the street, have been persecuted for being gay, and where the evidence presented to the Supreme Court showed there to be a substantial risk to asylum seekers of being returned to their home country, in spite of our obligations to them still, their application of asylum having still been made in the UK, something that is against international law and is called refoulement. Now, this is a particular concern for Muslim groups and people fleeing areas of conflict like Afghanistan, Syria or Yemen. And there's also the small matter of conflict happening on 2 of Rwanda's borders, as I've spoken about in previous videos, something that didn't come up in the court case, however, with the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Burundi, historic ongoing issues of which Rwanda has often been the instigator at that. But no, forget about all of that. Rishi Sunak has decided Rwanda is safe. Not because it really is, but because he needs to keep those who couldn't give a damn about human rights and asylum seekers on the batshit flank of his own party appeased. And so emergency legislation is coming down the road to make sure we say Rwanda is safe, thus getting around the Supreme Court's ruling. All of this is for naught, though, when you come to the matter of human rights, which is what the issue of safety is predicated upon. Refoulement is a blatant disregard of the right to claim asylum, and it is also a human rights violation to protected characteristics to send people to Rwanda where they will be abused because of those characteristics. The Court of Human Rights rules on that, so for as long as we're signatories of the Human Rights Convention, there's no legs in this. And to be honest, we're probably going to see a change of government before things escalate that far. It really does depend how fast Sunak chooses to act on this. Of course, Starmer's rancid party, what used to be the Labour Party, but is now just the corpse of what it once was, will bin it anyway. Starmer has said he'll scrap it, though sadly not on the grounds of human rights, as a normal person might react firstly to, a human rights lawyer might react to first and foremost at that. Because for Starmer, the issue comes down to cost. He doesn't see vulnerable people, he sees an expense. But let's suppose Sunak does move faster. He gets his law stating Rwanda is safe. He tries to get flights going and he gets blocked again by further legal action, this time on human rights grounds. What then? Well, Sunak has already lambasted anyone taking such matters to what he calls a foreign court. The European Court of Human Rights, foreign? Well, it's based abroad, sure, but it is there solely to uphold the Conventions on Human Rights, which lawyers in this country, the UK, had no small role in drawing up. Its name is something of a misnomer too, since it is an international court overseeing all countries who are signatories to it, including this one. It is very much a national court as well as an international one, and remains so, well, unless these Tories pull us out of the Human Rights Act, so stop stoking up opposition to it. It's a British court too. Making policies that have been ruled unlawful into lawful ones should in and of itself be a criminal act, you would think, because it is acting in political self-interest blatantly and not in line with what is good and what is right and what is just. It's fascism, isn't it? Because you're just legislating away anything you don't like. And that pretty much would make Sunak another stunted dictator, of which the world has seen enough of. It totally undermines democracy, which is built on the rule of law, if he can just change the law any time he wants to just suit himself and his own far-right fantasies. That he's completely unelected and installed in post just rounds out the stereotype autocratic despot image. The scheme is illegal. Our human rights are not Sunak's to bargain away. This will end very, very badly if it isn't opposed, because it isn't just the rights of asylum seekers they will scrap. It'll be all of our rights. And if you think life in Tory Britain after 13 years can't get worse, you will be very, very much mistaken. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where we didn't really need to wait for the Supreme Court to destroy Sunak's claims of Rwanda being safe, since we knew all about it when Braverman had her backside handed to her on this very issue back in August. I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.